Hello again. Welcome to another anointed episode of Shihlobo. Many times, what keeps us from making our dreams come true are our own excuses. In today's teaching, Bishop Mosa Sono encourages us to get off Someday Island, stop making excuses, and start living our best life now.
We live in a world that loves to make excuses. We are skillful at the art of making excuses. Very often people know what they want to achieve in life, but when they don't achieve it, they make excuses. We know the discipline that we need to put in to achieve certain things, but if we don't achieve them, we make excuses. And so lack of discipline to do what is necessary to achieve our goals is what happens to us. And very often when you ask people, why did you do that? They say, no, I'll do that sometime. So people take a vacation, in inverted commas, to this wonderful fantasy land called the Someday Island. People on the Someday Island say, I will read a book someday. They say, someday I will start an exercise program. Someday I will upgrade my skills and earn more money. In fact, 80% of the population in the world live in the Someday Island. People on the Someday Island, they think and dream and fantasize about all things that they're going to do someday. And the sad thing is, on this island, they are surrounded by other someday people. And on this Someday Island, the chief topic of the conversation is excuses. Excuses like, I don't know how, I didn't understand, I couldn't find the right tools. It's excuses, excuses, excuses. It's been said that excuses are the tools of the incompetent. And those who specialize in them seldom go far. It's Ben Franklin who wrote, and I quote, "He that is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else." End of quote. I hope you're not sitting next to one of those people. Gabriel Muria stated, and I quote, "He who excuses himself accuses himself." End of quote. In fact, the truth is this: oftentimes it is losers that make excuses. Winners don't make excuses, winners just progress in life. I'm going to use Jeremiah and Moses as an example. Jeremiah chapter 1, I want to read from verse 1 to verse 13. The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that were in Athoth, in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Lord came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. It came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, until the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, until the exile of Jerusalem in the 5th month. Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And that's the truth for every one of you here tonight, and everyone who's watching. God says, before I formed you, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. Tell your neighbor you're consecrated. Tell your other neighbor, that means you're set apart. Bazalala, you have been set apart. You are not a mistake. You are a man and a woman of purpose. You are here by God's design. And you have been set apart to play a certain role. But if you are in the Someday Island, you'll always make excuses. If you're in the Someday Island, the world will miss your impact. God says, before you were born, I consecrated you. And not only have you been consecrated, he says, I appointed you. You've been appointed. Even if others leave you out, God appoints you. even if they didn't shortlist you, God has already shortlisted you. I have appointed you a prophet to the nations. Whatever it is, you've been appointed for something. You may not necessarily be appointed as a prophet, but you're appointed for something. Verse 6. Then I said, this is Jeremiah speaking, alas, Lord God, behold, I don't know how to speak. Excuses, excuses. Because I'm a youth. But the Lord said to me, do not say I'm a youth. Because everywhere I send you, you shall go. And all that I command you, you shall speak. Keep going, please. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Lord. Bazalana, when God appoints you and when God consecrates you, wherever God sends you, whatever God tells you to do, He will be there to empower you. You don't need to make excuses. You don't need to make excuses. When you make excuses, you tie God's hands. When you make excuses, you immobilize the power of God in your life. Then the Lord stretched out His hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, behold, I have put my word in your mouth. Oh. See, I have appointed you this day over the nations, over the kingdoms, to pluck up, to break down, to destroy, to overthrow, to build and to plant. See, your assignment is already clear. This was for Jeremiah, but whatever your assignment is, it is already clear. God is very specific. Barcelona, there is nobody like you in the whole world. Nobody has been wired just like you. Nobody has been touched by God just like you. Nobody has been set apart just like you. Nobody has been anointed just like you. But you keep making excuses, some of you, on the someday island. The word of the Lord came to me saying, what do you see, Jeremiah? And I said, I see a rod of almond tree. Verse 12, then the Lord said, you have seen well, for I am watching over my word to perform it. In other words, whatever I've said about you, I will watch over it and make sure it comes to pass. God says, take me on if you want. Just believe me and trust me and do what I tell you and see if I will not come through and I will not be true to what I have said about you. Verse 13, and the word of the Lord came to me a second time saying, what do you see? And I said, I see a boiling pot facing away in the north. Go to verse 17, please. Skip to verse 17. Verse 17. Now get up your loins and arise. Look at your neighbor and say, get up your loins and arise. Look at your other neighbor and say, get off the sun someday island. Get off. Yeah. We're serving you an eviction order tonight. Yeah, we are the red ants who are getting you off the someday island. How many red ants do we have here? Get off the island. God says, get up your loins. In other words, get in a position of showing that you are ready for action. See, people in those days used to tie belts around their loins. And when you tie a belt around your loins, it means I'm ready to move. Get up your loins and arise. Somebody say, arise. Yeah, look at your neighbor and say, Kauvele. Some of you are missing you. We're missing you. We're seeing your shadow. Because you're on someday island. We just see your shadow. Look at your neighbor and say, arise. God says, arise and speak to all which I command you. Do not be dismayed before them, or I will dismay you before them. Verse 18. Now behold, I've made you today as a fortified city, as a pillar of iron, and as walls of bronze against the whole land, for the kings of Judah, for his princes, to his priests, to the people of the land. God says, I have fortified you, I have strengthened you. There's no need for you to be afraid of the assignment. My goodness, stop making excuses. Verse 19, and they will fight against you, but God says, whatever I've told you, you will experience opposition. Whatever vision I've given you, you will have obstacles. But God says, but they will not overcome you. Why? For I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. Can I hear a shout in this house? God is with you. Stop making excuses. God says you will experience hard times. You will experience experience opposition. But that opposition is nothing as compared to the God who's on your side. See, the name Jeremiah means Jehovah lifts up. Jeremiah was born in the village of Anathoth. His father was Hamutal, and he was the head of the tribe of Manasseh. When Jeremiah was called, he was called into the prophetic ministry in the 13th year of the reign of King Josiah, as we've read. He was called into ministry by God as a young man, and his ministry lasted 40 years. Wow. So God declared that he had sanctified him as a prophet even before he was born. Long before you were born, God had already decided your path. Not only had he decided your path, he has already equipped you for your path. Yeah. Schooling and other things we do, they are just an addition to help us to be more able to fulfill the task. But hardwired in your core, programmed into the core of your being, what God has hardwired and tattooed in your spirit is the ability for you to be everything he wants you to be. And you're wasting your time by making excuses. You really are. You really are. God looks at you and he shakes his head and says, what's wrong? I didn't call your name, all right? God had declared that he had sanctioned him, sanctified him to be a prophet. But the young man in verse 6 says to God, our Lord God. These words actually mean, no, Lord God. Jeremiah pleaded that he was a youth and that he lacked the ability to speak. But note, God replied that he was being called not because of age, not because of ability, but he was called because God had chosen him. Everything about your circumstances has got nothing to do with God's call on your life. Whether you have parents or you don't have parents, whether you have money, you don't have it, you have education, you don't have it, whether you were born in a township or in a suburb or in a mukuk, it doesn't matter. It's got nothing to do with what God says you're going to be. I can see your amens are kind of lacking. You don't believe what I said. And to show Jeremiah that it's got nothing to do with anything, in verse 10, immediately he saw the hand of God reaching out and touching his mouth. The same way God's going to reach out and touch you for your assignment. I tell you, tell your neighbor, God's going to touch you for your assignment. Tell 2 people, tell 3 people, tell 4 people. Come on, go around, tell them, 4 people. Come on, tell them they don't believe you. Tell them God's going to touch you for your assignment. You see, Bazalana, God will always enable you to fulfill your life's mission regardless of the obstacles before you. And that is why, therefore, God will not take your excuses. He won't. God will not allow you to live a mediocre life. Some of you like to be mediocre. Yeah. You just like to just do enough just to get by. Just almost make it. Or make it just. How many of you are sitting next to a someday island, make it just mediocre somebody? Note in Exodus 3, another person who made excuses when he was called by God. Let's look at this. This is amazing. It's a long one. I just want to show you. I want to read all of it because you just have to see this. God is talking to Moses. He says, come now, I will send you to Pharaoh so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses says, God, who am I? How? That I should go to Pharaoh, that I should bring the sons of Israel out of Egypt. And he said, certainly I'll be with you. God's answer, he doesn't even worry. It doesn't matter who you are. What matters who is with you. Yeah. Who you are is not an issue. The issue God says, I will be with you. And this shall be a sign to you that I've sent you when you have brought the people out of Egypt. You shall worship God at this mountain. Keep going, verse 13. Then Moses says, God, behold, I'm going to the sons of Israel, and I'll say to them, the God of your fathers has sent you. Now they will say to me, what is his name? This guy is manufacturing excuses. What shall I say to them? Keep going. Verse 14, God said, I am who I am. I'll tell them I am has sent you. Say, send to the sons of Israel, it is I am who has sent you. God furthermore said to the Moses, that you'll say to the sons of Israel, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial name to all generations. Wow. Go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, the Lord, the God of the fathers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me, and I'm indeed concerned about what has been done to you in Egypt. Verse 17, so I said, I will bring you out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, Perizzites, the Hivites, Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. Verse 18, they will pay heed to what you say. God is telling him, forward, man. God always tells you, you will succeed in your mission. You will succeed. If I send you, you will succeed. Even if obstacles come, you will succeed. Stop making excuses. God says they will listen to you, and when you talk to the elders, you will come to the king of Egypt, and you will say to the king of Egypt, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. So now please let us go a 3-day journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt, Moses. You know, when you talk to somebody and they keep on saying, but how many of you are sitting next to somebody or ratamar? Huh? How many of you sitting next to marry somebody who lives in a Sunday island? But I know that the king of Egypt will not permit you to go, except under compulsion. Keep going. So I will stretch out my hand. God says, strike Egypt with all miracles, which I will do. And after then, they will let you go. Verse 21, I will grant these people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Verse 22, but every woman shall ask of a neighbor who lives in a house, they will ask for silver, gold, clothing. Next verse. Then Moses says, what if they will not believe me? You know what Sono is very strenuous. Excuses. Yeah, doesn't that sound like some of you? Doesn't that sound like someone who's sitting next to you right now? What if they will not believe me or listen to me? For they will say, the Lord has not appeared to you. Keep going. I want to show you. The Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? And he said, well, it's a rod, it's a staff. God said, okay, throw it down to the ground. He threw it, so it became a serpent, and Moses runs from it. Verse 4, and the Lord said to Moses, hey, stretch out your hand, grasp it by the tail. So he got it, and then it became a staff in his hand. That they may believe that the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob has sent you. I want to read this, Kabo. The Lord furthermore says, put your hand in your bosom. Put his hand in his bosom. When he took it out, it was full of leprosy. Then he says, put it back. Then it was fine. Verse 8. I'm just paraphrasing now. If they will not believe you or hear the witnesses of the first sign, they will believe this one, if we are leprosy. But if they will not believe even these 2 signs, then you will take some water from the Nile, pour it out on the dry ground, and the water will become like blood. Verse 10. Then Moses says, Lord, please, Lord. I wanted to read that on purpose. I want to show you it's in the Bible. You see, people who have excuses, there's never the right answer. People who have excuses, they will just find a reason to be mediocre. Yeah. People who live on the someday island, they will manufacture reasons to justify their position and condition. Moses says, please, Lord, I've never been eloquent. Neither recently nor in time past. There's no hope. Nor since you have spoken to yourself. For I'm slow of speech. I want to show you something. And I'm slow of tongue. Verse 11, the Lord said to you, who has made your mouth? Who has made man's mouth? You are talking to me like I don't know who you are. Ke tlile mo wena o ntse o tlhakatlhakane so o le mo firifiri so o firizela. I know. And that wafirizela has got nothing to do with my ability on the inside of you. Your background has got nothing to do with what God says. Can I hear an amen in this house? Come on. Stop making excuses. Make no excuses. God says, who makes the mute? Who made the deaf? The seeing on the blind. Is it not a high? Now then go. Even I will be with your mouth. I'll teach you what you have to say. You see, God never sends you without saying, I'll be with you. Get that in your heart, Bazalwana. Next verse. But he said, please, Lord. No, this is the way some of you sound to God. Come on, don't. Can I show up Moses and say, who Moses? Put your name there, Maria. Hi, don't be zot. Fagi kamalako lapo ntongi zoto. How? Makosonke fagi kamalako lapaya. He said, please, Lord, now send the message by whoever you will. Ngamanyamaza, not me. I wanted to show you something. Then the anger of the Lord burned against me. See, I'll tell you, Basalan. You see, you are not being humble when you're trying to tell God you cannot do what he says you can do. That's not humility, that is stupidity. See, you think you're being humble when you say you don't have the ability. God, I tell you, I've gotten into trouble with God myself. When God has told me to do certain things and I was slow. I remember there's a year, actually, in our church where I got very ill. This is about 10 years ago. I never will forget that year. Now, I don't want to exaggerate, but I can't go into other things, okay? But I got very ill. I don't know if the leaders will remember. I literally called the entire Ministry of Helps, all our elders and the board, and I had to stand in front of them and confess. I had not sinned in a sense, but there's an area in my life where I was slow in obeying. Can cost you your life. Yeah. I became very ill. And I remember I was praying for healing. And God said, and I knew at that time, if I don't move, it's going to shorten my life. I'm telling you, Azalan. Yeah? There are many people who never live the fullness of their life because they are walking in disobedience towards God. They are following their own way. And sometimes disobedience is not that you are doing something wrong. You can just be slow to do what God told you and you keep postponing and you are living on some day island. God wants you, the day you leave this world, you should have finished what he told you to do. And the sooner you start, my friend, the better. God was angry with him. Moses for a while. What kind of excuses did Moses give? In verse 1, he gives the excuse of inability. He says, I'll be nobody. I'm not able to do the job. God's response is this: I'll be with you. I'll go with you. If God called us, he has done so with a full knowledge of our weaknesses and our inabilities. In Psalms 103, verse 14, David says God knows us fully. Secondly, if God calls you, he knows you can accomplish the task through his power. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And then when God sends us into his work, he never sends us alone. In Matthew 28 verse 20, he says, lo, I will be with you. If your excuse is one of an inability, then you need to realize that God is really not impressed with that. When Gideon in Judges chapter 7 tried to tell God about his inability, God wasn't impressed with him. Secondly, So the first excuse of Moses was the excuse of what? Inability. The second excuse of Moses was the excuse of inadequacy. He tells God he's inadequate. I can't speak. Very often people want to say they're incapable in doing what God has told them. But God's response is to remind Moses that it is not anybody or forward to, it is the I am. It is the God who created your mouth. While when you may be inadequate, I am the one who is going to equip you. Somebody say equip you. Say it again. Oh, come on now, somebody say again. See, Basalana, you need to understand, following God's mission can be a scary affair. When you look at the size of the task and compare your own abilities, there's never been a day where I've stood in front of you on this pulpit without some amount of fear coming into my heart. We have never arranged any program in this church where I never wondered if people will turn up. There's never been a day where I've preached where I've wondered if my sermon is making sense. There's never been a day when I've operated in the gifts of the Spirit where I wasn't worried that I was wrong. Has never been a time when I made an altar call where I wasn't afraid that nobody will come. But I still do it anyhow. I still do it anyhow.
Well, that's all we have time for. Look out for part 2 of this sermon next week. Remember that this teaching and others are available on podcast. Contact the Bishop on Twitter at Bishop Mosa Sono or worship with us at one of our many branches. Details are on screen now. Goodbye. God bless.